hike to? Hey everybody, it's Robin. I was asked a question on one of the hiking Facebook pages, Appalachian Trail hiker page, of what my itinerary was and if I would share it. And I'd be happy to do that. Understand, this is a section hike for me, and I'm a very slow hiker, like the slowest hiker known to man. And plus, I started hiking after going through chemo for breast cancer. So my endurance level is not the same as somebody who was healthier and more fit. So there are faster hikers out there, and you can tweak my hike for a faster pace. But I'm just going to give you what I did and what worked for me, and maybe some valuable starting and takeout points. So to begin with, I did start at Springer Mountain. I did not hike the approach trail because I did not see the value of extra miles that didn't count. I just couldn't see it. I took my picture under the arch and then I went to the forest road. I hiked the mile up to sign the book, and then I hiked back down and continued the trail from there. So instead of the 8 or however many miles approach trail, I just decided to do the 1 mile up and back down. And so the first day I had lofty goals. I had planned to hike to Horse Gap, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but it didn't work out that way. The AT certainly will challenge you on what you think you're going to do versus what you actually can do. So I actually made it to Hawk Mtn campsite before I crawled in my tent and died. And that was, I believe, 8 miles. This is a family spot out at Kings Mountain, and I'm probably going to wrap it up right now and go somewhere else because I got a whole family coming out here. So I will pick this up in a different location. Hey, it's Robin, I'm back. Okay, that was an unplanned 2 mile hike. But it's okay. It's peace and quiet right here, so that's all that matters. We were talking about, someone had asked what my itinerary was hiking the AT in Georgia. And so I was going to go through that real quick. I think I talked about avoiding the approach trail and hiking, backtracking the 1 mile up, signing the book, and coming back down and continuing the trail, which is what I did. I made it to Hawk Mtn campsite. What is that? Probably spiderweb. If I'd really been able to grasp the fact that Hightower Gap was so close, I might have just gone on to Hightower Gap, but honestly I was exhausted and it was the end of the day, and I just went on to Hawk Mtn campsite and set up my tent and tried to cook a meal, and I couldn't eat it. I was so tired. I was like, bleh. I could not eat my food. So sad because it was really good. Anyway, my first experience camping at Hawk Mtn was not great. The low was supposed to be in the 40s, and unexpectedly a front came through and it dropped. The wind chill was 28, and so my sleep system was not rated for that, and I froze, literally froze to death all night. I didn't sleep, and so I got up really early. As soon as it remotely got light outside, I got up, packed up all my stuff, and started hiking because I wanted to warm up, and I knew I would warm up if I started moving. In fact, the people at the campsite that I had met the night before, who were really nice people, are like, "Hey, Robin, you're up early. You going already?" I'm like, "Yep, out of here." And it was a very short hike to Hightower Gap, and I went ahead and got a ride out because there was supposed to be another low the next night or that night, and I knew that my sleep system wasn't rated for that, so I had to give it up and go home and replan. So that's what I did. When I came back, I got a shuttle to Hightower Gap, and for the last year and a half, year and 4 months, I've been using Dale Bandit Johnson. Super nice guy, always reliable. After a year and a half, I can say friend, because he's been shuttling me all over Georgia for a year. Super nice person. So his number's on the Far Out app, and I'll also put it in the description if you're looking for a shuttle driver. And if he's unable to, bugs. If he's unable to, he's got a whole list of people that he can refer you to if you need a shuttle. So anyway, I had him shuttle me to Hightower Gap, and I hiked to Gooch Gap, where he picked me up and took me back to wherever. I don't know if I got taken back to my car or to the hotel I was staying at. I don't remember, because I've stayed at hotels in Dahlonega and Hiawassee, I think. Don't use that one, it was horrible. It was super cheap. So if you find the cheapest place in Hiawassee, don't stay there. Don't recommend. I've also stayed in Helen, Georgia, and Clayton most recently. I've not done any hostels yet, but I know there are some good ones that a lot of people rely on. I've just not been real successful at getting through and finding a last-minute place to stay, because a lot of my hikes have been when I get an opportunity to get out there. I live in South Carolina, York, South Carolina, so it's only, a 3-hour drive to get out there, but it's not usually entirely planned. All right, so I did Hightower to Gooch Gap. Then I came back out and did Gooch Gap to Jarrard Gap, which there's a service road that you have to go down. Be aware. From Jarrard Gap, you have to go down the mountain to the gate to get picked up. And then when you get dropped back off at Jarrard, if you're going north, like I've been trying to, steadily go north and start at the place that I've stopped. Got taken back to Jarrard Gap and hiked Blood Mountain down to Neels Gap. Then I came back to Neels Gap and hiked Neels Gap to Hogpen Gap. Then I hiked Hogpen to Unicoi to Tray Mtn Gap, or Tray Gap, and that one is a little bit difficult. That stretch through there, I was trying to figure that one out because it's more of a stretch than what I thought I could handle. So I did manage to get Michelle, that she has a great Jeep, and she picked me up at Tray Gap. And then I think it was Dale that dropped me back off at Tray Gap, and I hiked from there to, where did I hike to? Tray Gap to Blue Mountain Campsite, possibly. Now I'm getting lost. You know what? I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to go look on the Far Out map to see where I hiked to and make sure I'm not telling you wrong. Because I did spend another night out at Blue Mountain Campsite, but I just don't remember where that was in relation to everything, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Yes, I was correct. I hiked Hogpen Gap to Unicoi Gap, but I camped out overnight at Blue Mountain Campsite. So that was 11.4 miles. And to date, that's the farthest I've hiked on the AT. I was really proud of that, actually. And once again, I didn't sleep, and I don't know why. I had my tent set up so comfortably. Everything was awesome. But I don't know. I didn't sleep. I, I have no answer for that. I was exhausted, but I didn't sleep. Anyway, um, so I did camp out that night. And the next morning, I hiked on into Unicoi and called it a day. Then I went from Unicoi to Tray Mtn. I got Michelle, and I think Dale knows her info. I don't have it right offhand. And she has a great Jeep. Drove me up to Tray Mtn to Tray Gap. And then I did Tray Gap to Addis Gap. I wanted to go all the way to Dix Creek, and I'm glad I didn't, because I had screwed up my knee, and I don't think my knee would have made it over Kelly Knob that day, because that was the last part of the hike. So I was fine with that. Tray Gap to Addis Gap. So if you don't have the far out map, get it. It's worth it. It's just worth it. That's all I got to say. Navigate it. Hit all the icons. I like the one that shows the topography, so that you can see your little bubble going up and down the mountain. That's the one that I like to follow. It's got a lot of comments. There are hostels, and it shows you water sources and campsites, and shuttle driver names, and almost anything you can imagine, it's on there. So if you don't have it, get it. Okay, yeah, Addis Gap. Michelle was the one that told me about Addis Gap, because I didn't think there was a takeout spot. And so Dale drove me back up to Tray. I got off at Addis because I didn't think I was going to make it all the way to Dix Creek, and I'm right, I wouldn't have. It would have been horrible. So it's a mile down the forest road. Understand, you're going to hike a mile out to get picked up, but that was fine. So this last 3-day hike that I just did and got finished with yesterday, Dale drove me back to Addis Gap, and I hiked back up that forest road. That was so fun. To Addis Gap, and I hiked Kelly Knob, and whatever that next one was, down to Dix Creek. And it is true, Kelly Knob kicked my butt. It was hard, but not nearly as hard as Wildcat Mountain. I will warn you ahead of time. The mountain that you climb right out of Tesnati Gap is switchbacks and steep all the way up. Be prepared. Drink lots of water. Take it slow. You can make it. If I can do it, you can do it. That's the only video that I've got, except for this last one, that I put a language alert out, because when I got to the top, it was exciting. Anyway, all right. So, yeah, this 3-day last push to the border. That was Addis Gap to Dix Creek. And then I wanted to do Dix Creek to Blue Ridge Gap. But as it turned out, Dale was able to drop me off. What he was available to do was drop me off at Blue Ridge Gap and hike south, or Sobo, down to Dix Creek. And that was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, I've kind of religiously been going Nobo. I wanted to be a purist, but I'm okay at this point. Like, whatever. So I did hike Blue Ridge south to Dix Creek and got that little section in. And that hike went better than Kelly Knob. So I did 3 days in a row. First day sucked. Second day was better. My legs felt better. Yesterday, he dropped me back off at Blue Ridge Gap at 5:30 a.m., so it was really dark, and I've not done a night hike, but I have now. I hiked Blue Ridge Gap to the border, which was 3.1, and then came back down. And he dropped me off. I dropped my car off on the service road down at the end of the service road, and he drove me up to the trailhead. So when I got back down, I hiked down the service road to my car. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's really rocky. I mean, like, it's really rocky, and that kind of sucked. So if I wouldn't want to have to do that again if I didn't have to. So anyway, yeah, that was yesterday. Blue Ridge Gap to the border and back to the trailhead, and then down the service road to my car. And that's how I hiked Georgia. That's how I did it. It took me 12 days to do it. It's just how it worked out. Someone more fit than me that, you know, hasn't been through 3 years of cancer treatment, and I'm still regaining or working on endurance. It's getting better. You could probably hike it quicker than that. And that's the beauty of the far out map. Look at the different gaps where you can get picked up and dropped off, and get the names of some shuttle drivers who can do that for you. If you want to camp out, camp out. I will say I historically have been putting my food in a bear bag, but I suck at throwing it over the limb, and I've not been at a place that had cables. I was one place that had a bear box, which is really awesome, but I'm looking at a bear canister that has a like a cover, a holder, so that I can bungee it to the back of my backpack, and then at night I can take it out of that holder and go stick it somewhere where I don't have to worry about hanging it. Although I know there's part of the trail where they recommend hanging even the bear canisters in your backpack. Not sure I really want to do that, but I don't know. But that's what they're recommending. But I like the thought of bungeeing that thing onto the back of my backpack so that it's not taking up so much room on the inside, and then I can take it out of the holder. I would put an Apple AirTag in it when I get ready to go throw it out there so I can track it. I typically have had cell service. I've not had a problem with no cell service out there except yesterday. Yesterday is the only time I've been out there with no cell service. But I do hike with a Garmin InReach Mini, so that I can text even without cell service if it's GPS. It's GPS, so I can use texting that way with emergency contacts. Anyway, that was my itinerary. I'm going to keep it short. If you've got questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments. I'm going to put my itinerary in the description, and that's just, again, that's what I did. If you're a faster hiker and you can go farther, that's awesome. You know, if you can go make it in 7 days, 10 miles a day or whatever, rather than 12, I say go for it. I would have done more miles if I could have. It's not the way it worked out for me. But I got it done in my way and my time. So I'm happy with that, and I'm celebrating that victory and looking forward to North Carolina. Let me know if you have questions. Be more than happy to answer them if I can. And if I can't, I'll look them up and let you know. A word of caution is not to overestimate how many miles you think you can do once you get out there if you haven't hiked it. If you're used to hiking at a certain elevation and elevation gain, then you have that advantage. I'm hiking mostly at Kings Mountain in South Carolina, North Carolina, and the trail here, it's a good trail, but the elevation's not nearly the same, and the elevation gain's not the same. So what I thought I could hike there is not what I could hike here. So prepare for that adjustment.